Hashem, we're learning Torah Nun Vav B'Siyata D'Shmaya, and we mentioned that we're going to speak today about healing. I hope we get to healing today, because healing is like the pinnacle of where this Torah is going to take us. But now, though, we're going to speak about the manna. We mentioned the manna last time, that the man was the mikvah of the nun, and when you go into the mikvah, you're really swimming in manna. That's really what's happening, which is das, which is shalom. So says Rabbeinu, Zeh sha'am Rabbi Yisrael zechoyin levroch. The Gemara in Kiddushin Lamed Ches says the following thing: Esaman ochlo arba'im shana. The Jewish people ate the manna for 40 years, and the Gemara says V'aloi arba'im shana chaser shloishim yoyim. It wasn't 40 years; it was 40 years minus 30 days. Why was it 40 years minus 30 days? Because when we left Mitzrayim, we had enough matzah for 30 days. So we didn't eat man for 40 years. Why would the Torah say that we ate it for 40 years? It was 40 years minus 30 days. Kasha. Should be more specific. What's the teretz? Ella u'geshahitziyim Mitzrayim. The matzah that we took with us when we left Mitzrayim was the man. The matzah is the manna. Inside the matzah, thank you, a trip to Costa Rica. The matzah, inside the matzah was the taste of the man. So and obviously it had to be that way, because we said when we were in Mitzrayim, when we were in Egypt, our das was in Galus. Our conscious awareness was constricted. And when we left Mitzrayim, our consciousness immediately opened up. So that has to be the das. That has to be that we're eating man. Yeah, the matzah was the man. And that's why when you eat matzah on Pesach, you're really eating the man, and you're really getting your das. Pesach is a big download of das. And that will culminate by Shavuos, by the mikveh of the nun of Shavuos. And that's the kala, going to the mikveh before the chuppah. Ki be'emes haman shu bechinas hadas. Of course we should have been eating the man for 40 years, 40 full years. Because 40 is also bina vadas. Ki arbaim hu bechinas bina vadas. Dahainu tekiv kisheyotzim mitzrayim v'nisgala hadas. As soon as we left Mitzrayim, and now our das is opening up. We're seeing things in a much clearer way. Das means connection, means intimate connection. Like Adam Yoda es Chava Ishtay, that Adam knew Chava, means he was intimately connected to her. That's das. And we didn't have that das in Mitzrayim. We were, I think this is the right word, discombobulated. We were not connected. All the parts of us were not unified and connected. Das connects basically you to yourself. Das connects you to yourself.
How so?
Because das is the connection between the head and the heart. Das connects Chochmah and Bina into the midos, into your emotions. Das takes things that are intellectually true and makes them emotionally relevant to you. Because you don't feel like doing anything if something's not emotionally relevant. Yes, somebody, do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe God doesn't want you to talk in shul? Of course. So why do you talk in shul? I'm still here, whatever. I know, but it's not emotionally relevant yet. That's a lack of das. I could know many things, but I just can't stop doing things that go contrary to what I know to be true. That's a lack of das. So we're not connected. Lack of das means a disconnection. So in Mitzrayim, we lacked the connection. We couldn't connect to the fact that we were going through horrible experiences. We needed Moshe Rabbeinu to come in. We're going to see Moshe Rabbeinu as das.
So were the Jews, were they just groans, essentially?
We were that's a good way to say it. We couldn't process. The way the Mesilas Yesharim explains it is that we were so busy. Sounds like nowadays. We were so busy Yeah, you didn't even have time to think about being a slave. Somebody said, like, maybe you're like a slave. I don't have time for this right now. Even like, your suggestion. Like, can't you see, like, I'm checking messages and stuff? Oh man. We were so busy with work that we couldn't just wait a second. Maybe this isn't the right job for me. Maybe I'm going in a dead-end direction in life. But you don't have time to even think about that because back in my day, people used to have piles on their desks. The pile on my desk is too big. I gotta like shrink the pile. Nowadays, it's whatever, they're unchecked messages. I'm behind in my stuff. So you don't even have time to try to pop out of that consciousness. So the das was in Gullus. So as soon as we left Mitzrayim, we had das. So why weren't we in the man? We were. That was the matzah. The matzah was the man. And therefore, as soon as we left Mitzrayim, we're immediately eating manna. And that's why the rabbis teach us that the matzah that we took out from Mitzrayim, inside of it you could taste the man. And now Rebbe Nachman makes a move. Ki hashalom talui b'das, like we mentioned before. Shalom, peace, is all dependent on das. We're going to see that this peace we're talking about could be an inner peace, a piece of the different parts of you working together, peace between people, peace between nations. It's hard to have peace if you can't connect with somebody. Das means real connection, like I'm really connecting. When it says that Adam and Chava had das together, it means there was deep connection, there's peace. Peace is what we're all about. But you only get peace with das. That's why we mentioned before in the Torah that when Mashiach comes, what did we say is going to be the defining factor of the era of Mashiach? Yamalei haaretz dea es Hashem kamayim liyam nechasim. That the whole world will fill with das, like water covers the sea floor. That there'll be such connection between human beings. There'll be and that will lead to such a peace. V'machloikis hu hefech hadas. Now we're going to begin this shtickle that we start talking about machloikis. Now, what would you say, my dear friends? Is machloikis something that you would think is that encourages das, or it's the opposite of das?
Opposite.
I would have thought it's the opposite of das, and Rebbe Nachman says the opposite of das. Could you think of any machloikis which is not the opposite of das? Machloikis l'shem shemaim, which we're going to see, is literally not just not das. It's like super das. It's ultra das. It's like the best das. It's the best type of das. Now, why is it the best type of das?
Pursuit of truth.
It's the pursuit of truth, and we're going to see that we're going to talk about the First Amendment today. That we're going to really talk about the idea of really having a voice, but a voice that's a real voice, not a stam. Just that a person, I could say anything I want, even if it means to say negative things. It's not real das, it's not connection. We're going to see the deepest expression, the Torah's version of the First Amendment, which is very profound, because the more a person learns Torah, you realize we are so into the First Amendment, but in a much more refined way than it's presented. Because to say that I could just say hateful words, that's not bringing connection. It's not bringing communication. You might just be able to, I say whatever I want. Yeah, but you're part of this global collective humanity. Like, that's going to hurt somebody else. Why would you say that? So we'll learn that the Torah's vision of a First Amendment means really you can have your opinion. You have to be able to defend it, because all of our opinions are a pursuit of truth. We're all trying to find the truth. And by the way, what that will follow into is if somebody has an idea that makes more sense, that you're actually willing to say, I think that I was wrong, And I think that your point is actually a better taken point than mine. And that's a very mature state of being. To get to that place that somebody could really say, and you're going to really listen to what the other person says. The idea of a First Amendment was just like we could just spew anything, even if it's very hateful, because I have a right to say whatever I want. So where's the connection happening? The Torah's vision for humanity is a vision of deep connection between people through the pursuit of truth. So let's see how Rebbe Nachman says it. Machloikesu hepech hadas. When people are fighting, general, just simple fighting, it's a fight words. Fighting is not das, because you're not connecting to the other person, you're fighting. Ach yesh machloikes shehu l'shem shemayim. However, there's a machloikes that's l'shem shemayim, shu be'emes das godel me'oid, which is the biggest das. It's amazing das. Because when you can actually fight for truth, and somebody can really voice their opinion, and you know that it's not personal, you're just both looking for truth, and you could sit in the base medrash and literally fight with your chavrusa to try to find the truth, you're pursuing very amazing connection. And he's going to point out an amazing concept, which is, we see this all the time. This is Yosem Ha'adash Shel Shalom. More than just what he calls the das of peace, simple peace. Like, I don't want to say anything that might, go against, what you think. So we just we're just peaceful. Everything's fine. Because I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. You come to yeshiva, everyone's ruffling everyone's feathers like all day. Like, that's not the truth. That's not the emes. Well, that's a bad pshat. Oh, come on. You think that's what Tosfos is saying? Bro, that's not even the words that Pnei Yehoshua is saying. He didn't even say that. You're making up a pshat. Show me where it says it in the words, what you're saying. And nobody's taking anything personal. Like, Taka, good point. I am making it up. You're right. I was not being authentic to the words of Tosfos. Thank you. And you don't take it personally. You're fighting for the truth. It's an amazing, that's very big das. It's higher than just shalom. Like, someone says a pshat, you're like, I don't want to critique it because, even though it's wrong, I just don't want to critique it. So, machloikes l'shem shamayim brings such a higher level consciousness of das. Because you're all just trying to get to God consciousness together. You're in this together. Ki be'emes yesh machloikes hi ava v'shalom godel. When you really get into a machloikes, which is l'shem shamayim, you build so much love for the people that you're on that journey with, the people you learn Torah with, especially Gemara with. You develop, and you're mature enough to have some back and forth. You develop this deep bond. This deep bond. The people you learn Gemara with, you really develop a deep bond with them. Like the rabbis taught us. Ves vahev b'sufa. So this is a pasuk talking about that in the Torah there's a book where it goes through all the different battles that went on. And the Ramban says it was a known thing that the Torah, and there was books like this, that they would write the different conquests and battles in this book. And in the book of recounting some of the experiences the Jewish people went through, so it speaks about at the Yam Suf, that was also, the ancient Egyptians were coming to attack us, and they fell into the Yam Suf. And it says, Es vahev besufa, and the gifts, because there were gifts that were given to the Jewish people at the Yam Suf. And those gifts, it's pointing that out, and Ad Nachal Arnoin, pointing out the different conquests, different experiences that we went through as a people in the ancient world. So the Gemara says we could learn this pasuk to mean something else as well. The simple meaning is that there was gifts that was given at the Yam Suf and Nachal Arnoin. That's Hev means like to give, like Ava. The root of Ava means to give, by the way. Love means that you give to somebody. That's what the word literally means. Somebody said Joe was talking about this recently, about Ava and Gematria and Echad. Yeah? It's not about Ava? And Hebrew letters? So, that's the Shirish. We'd be happy to learn with Joe, because it's all in here. So, I think he wants to find the truth. He's looking. So, the Hev means to give, means Ava, because when you love somebody, you give to them. The relationship is not about what can I get, it's really what can I give. So, let's read this pasuk now through the eyes of the Gemara. Es vahev besufa. Besufa can mean yam sufa, it could also mean at the end, right? Sof. And vahev, we said, is like Ava. There's going to be a great love when the Jews are battling in Torah together. That's the book of the battles. When you battle with your friends in the book, then in the end, vahev, you guys will have great love towards each other. So that's what the Gemara says. Kamoi she'amru chachamein zichron livracha lo yizazu misham ad shenasu oyhavim zeh lo zeh. That when you learn Torah with somebody, you become very deeply bonded. It says that they would walk in and they would see people fighting in the base medrash, like throwing shtenders and stuff, and then they walk out like arm in arm. What, you guys are just at war together. Why are you? Oh yeah, it was nothing personal. It's exactly because we're fighting for the truth that we're able to have this great love. Because we're able to respect each other's opinions. That's very deep. And if we feel that one of them is not correct, then that person will be mature enough to say, I'm not right. I'm not right. I wish that was happening all over X. That would be great if somebody said, you know what? My whole approach has totally been wrong. You make a lot more sense. You're making a much better rational argument than I am. I'm chayzer boy. I'm reneging on the things that I said. I wish that was the commonplace and not the exception. But that's what learning in base measures is all about. Is literally people saying, if I really feel that you're making a much stronger point, then I'm going to acquiesce to that. That's very high level connection, because it's not about a personal thing. You're just helping each other find the truth. You're sharpening each other. That's why learning the Chavrus is so powerful, because you sharpen. Each one sharpens the other one. When you learn by yourself, you can get away with, like, I'm sure this is pshat, Viter. I'm sure I had pshat and things. But when you learn the Chavrus, it's like, what did you say in that Rashi? Yeah, excuse me, what was pshat? And he forces you, tell me, I don't think you chap the Gemara. When the guy reads the Gemara a little bit too quick. Like, actually, what was the bias saying? I didn't chap what you said. Yeah, because he probably didn't chap what he said either. That's why learning the Chavrus is a chashuv thing, because he'll slow you down a little bit, say, let's not move on until we get pshat in the bayah. Nothing personal. We're literally just looking for the truth. Ad she'amru Rabbi Sein zechoin levracha, until that we take this idea so far that we say machloikis shul shem shamayim soifel iskayim. Any machloikis which is for the sake of heaven, an argument for the sake of heaven, will go on forever. Because we're always going to be speaking about this. We're always just trying to find the truth. That's why we're still talking about Abai and Rava. We're still talking about Shammai and Hillel. Because they were looking for the truth. So their words exist forever. Whereas people that are fighting not for the truth, their words just fade away. And this truth is all love. This brings this great love. In the end, it will go on forever. It will go on and it'll build love between the people and bring more love into the world. And now we're back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is this Moshe Rabbeinu? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, we said, is Das. Das is connection. Moshe Rabbeinu was all about a machlokes that's l'shem shemayim. Even the letters Moshe, Rebbe Nachman's about to tell us, is the letters Mem, Shin, and a Hey, which is machlokes, Shammai, Hillel. That's Moshe. He represents, which is the purest, untainted form of just arguing for the sake of heaven, to actually find the truth. Arguing for the sake of heaven doesn't mean just arguing stam. Jews like to argue. So let's just argue about stuff. That's not it. It means that we're trying to find truth, so we're refining the other person's way of thinking. Amen. Thank you, Yosef. It's wonderful.
Thank you for the schools.
Shubachinas machlokes l'shem shemayim. Al kein Moshe hu Rosh Tevis machlokes Shammai Hillel shehem bechinas machlokes l'shem shemayim. V'al kein haya geulus Mitzrayim al yidei Moshe. It had to be that the redemption was through Moshe, because Moshe is the one that gives us das. Redemption is all about coming to das. And all this, remember, my friends, from the beginning of the Torah and the Vav, is all about getting malchus. Malchus means that every one of us has a responsibility to lead. But how do you lead the people that are under your guise? How do you lead the people that you're responsible to lead? You need das. You need to know how to lead them. That's das. So this is all about getting the das. When we left Mitzrayim, we got the das. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. We're drawing the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu to us. And in every single generation, there's a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu in the scholars. And really, in every single one of us, when we're learning Torah, there's a nitzotz of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why the Gemara, you'll pay attention, you'll see sometimes the rabbis in the Gemara will say, Shaper ka'amris Moshe. Moshe, you're saying good. His name is Rava, not Moshe. His name is Rav. What's with the Moshe? It's because the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu's soul is speaking inside of him.
How can they know that that's what's happening just by seeing the words on the page?
They're speaking, and they have Ruach HaKodesh. And we have a tradition from Har Sinai of what Moshe Rabbeinu is.
Why is Moshe Rabbeinu the representation of Das and not Abraham?
All the tzaddikim have everything. It's just that some have, it's like a recessive gene and a dominant gene. Some have more of that energy or represent more of it. Avram Avinu's energy is generally more expressed through chesed, even though he had everything, but he was like a chariot of chesed in the world. Whereas Moshe Rabbeinu was a chariot of das. He was the absolute connecting point, a unifying point. And that's how we're going to see that if a person messes with Moshe Rabbeinu, it's bad. Because they're cutting off all the das. They're making problems with das. And that's what Rebbe Nachman is going to teach us, that there were a couple people that made problems with Moshe Rabbeinu. Two of them were Das and Vavirim. Das and Vavirim. They're the ones that made problems with Moshe a few times throughout the Torah. Sometimes they're mentioned without name. And it's fascinating, the same people that made a problem with Moshe, they also made a problem with the manna. The same ones that make problems with Moshe Rabbeinu, who's Das, they were like leaving over the mun. Now you're not allowed to leave over the mun. You have to. So they're the same ones that are like, yeah, we leave over the manna. You can't do that. You have to eat the manna in one day, otherwise it gets all wormy. Because they're making problems with Das. We said that the manna is the mikvah of the nun, is the super Das, which we got when we left Mitzrayim. So the very same people making problems with Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the machlokes Shammai Hillel, which is machlokes l'shem shemayim, their machlokes was never l'shem shemayim. Also, we see the same thing with Koirach. That what's a machlokes l'shem shemayim? Hillel and Shammai. What's a machlokes shaloi l'shem shemayim? Koirach ve'adasai. Which is funny. It should have said, what's a machlokes shaloi l'shem shemayim, Koirach and Moshe. But it doesn't say that. It says, what's a machlokes shaloi l'shem shemayim, Koirach and his cronies. So one pshat is that they was all about infighting. They had all this infighting. That was the machlokes, and it just expressed itself outwards to Moshe. Others explain that it means that Ezu machlokes shalod l'shem shamayim, kerach va'adasai, because Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't even part of the machlokes. He was like above it. It never touched him. He never got involved. You know, somebody tries to like bring a machlokes shalod l'shem shamayim, God forbid. So just either you could be pulled down into it to some. You know it's not going to be good if you get pulled into this thing. They're fighting over this thing, and it's definitely not for the sake of heaven, which is a lot. Some, I don't know, some X feed or some string of things, and just stay out. It's not going in a good direction. So Moshe wasn't even touched. He just never fell for the bait. And that's why it says that it's the machlokes shaloi l'shem shemaim is koirach va'adasai. It wasn't again. Moshe wasn't. He was talking to Moshe, but Moshe he wasn't feeding the flames. Yeah, Yosef.
I thought Moshe was Netzach.
So he has both, like we just said.
Okay.
He has the energy of Netzach. The Zohar makes a point to really emphasize that he was Das. Because, like we said, we have all of them. Some are more prominent. Yeah, Eli?
What were the qualities of Yitzhak and Yaakov?
Yitzhak was generally Gevura, and Yaakov was generally Tiferes, Emes, or Torah, or Rachamim. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to show up by Yetzias Mitzrayim. And by the way, all this is happening inside of you. This whole story is inside your consciousness. There's a Moshe Rabbeinu. There's a Paro, which is the letters Pera, the evil mouth, which is basically the entry point of Das. That's what's taking the higher self towards the emotional self, is through healthy speech. And unhealthy speech is Paro, is Pera. So Moshe Rabbeinu has to come to counter that energy. This is all inside of you right now. And that's why when we go through this, it's really you're going deeper into the inner sanctum of your consciousness.
What page are you on again?
In Torah Nun Vav,
That's what I thought.
in Ois Ches. Valkein haya geulas Mitzrayim ali de Moshe, ki ikra geula ali de Adas. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu shows up by the geula. Kamoshe kosa v'yadatem ki Hashem oitzi eschem das, and that you'll know, you'll have das, you'll be intimately connected. When the redemption was happening, all of a sudden you see das showing up. Laman yedu doirei seichem ki besukas oishavdi is b'nei Yisrael. More das, that they'll know that I took you out of Mitzrayim. V'zebechin is uga, and this is the matzah. The matzah that we took out of Mitzrayim. The hainu matzahs shehayitziu miMitzrayim. Ki matzah hu bechinas machlokes. You know what the word matzah means? It shares a couple letters. Matzah also means to have a machlokes. Matzah meriva. Matzah means machlokes. But the matzah is the machlokes l'shem shemayim. And therefore the matzah is very high das. Very high shalom. Because the shalom that we're talking about, that we want to bring to humanity, and what the era of Mashiach holds, is that everyone's going to have a voice. This is what I meant that we're talking on the top of the First Amendment. Everyone's going to have a voice, but it's not going to be a hateful voice. It's going to be a voice of building and sharing your, we have such a thing, your inner truth. But if that inner truth is skewed by something, that you're honest enough to listen to what your friend says and to say, you know what, maybe it was biased with something, and you're right. It makes more sense to say like you're saying. And we're all going to be okay with that kind of communication. That's a very beautiful thing. It's very high level truth, because it's not a robotic truth. We follow the thing. That's not what it is. It's that no, you could have different opinions. And we're all together in it. And we can all voice that opinion. That's real free speech. That's a much higher peace than just we all do the exact same thing and say the exact same thing and parrot the exact same thing. And mamish not that. So that's the highest shalom. That's why you come to yeshiva, it's very vibrant. You're allowed to have very varying opinions. You're going to have to defend it. You have to fight over it. But you're going to walk out as people who love each other. Because you know that you're just trying to find the truth together. Dahainu matzah shoyitzim mitzrayim ki matzah hu bechinas machloikes kamoy shekosov anshe matzusecha yu ka'ayin. It's talking about that the word matzah is connected to the word of fighting, but means fighting for the truth. V'zeh shayitzil mitzrayim, and this is what it means that we took the matzahs from Mitzrayim. In Mitzrayim, our das was in Gullus, and this that it means we took it out. We took the matzah out. It means now our das opened up. We came out of Mitzrayim. In Mitzrayim, all the squabbling and just all the fighting, that was not l'shem shamayim. Only when we left Mitzrayim did we now have a machlokes l'shem shamayim. Ki zeh tolui b'das. V'zeh uga shehayitzil mitzrayim hainu she'amatzah she bechinas machlokes hayitzil mitzrayim shesham hayu adas begolos. And therefore that's why the matzah tasted like what? The man. Tasted like the manna. Because the manna is the das. What's the bracha on man? Amoitzi lechem min hashamayim. This is a very high level stuff. This is a high level das. And as soon as we left Mitzrayim, we got that das. And by the way, every year, what do you think is happening on Seder night? You're downloading a very big level of das. That's why you want to be in a very good place. The Seder night is crazy das coming in. And it's culminating by Shavuos. V'zeh uga shehayitzil b'Mitzrayim hainu she'amatzah she bechinas machloikes hayitzil b'Mitzrayim shesham hayu adas begolos tom behem taman ki la'achar shehayitzil b'chinas hamachloikes min hagolos Mitzrayim hayu behem tamon shu bechinas das godel she bechinas machloikes l'shem shemayim k'nei la'el. Oh, v'zeh bechinas lechem min hashomayim. And this is what it means that the man was the lechem min hashamayim, the bread that came from heaven. Hanemar b'mon. Now lechem, you know what lechem also means? It means bread.
Survive.
Lechem means like lochem, to fight. The Zohar says, very fascinating, why does the word bread have the same word as like a battle? So the Zohar says, because when you eat, and bread is like the staple food, good grain, not GMO stuff, the real stuff. Einkorn wheat. Look that up, my friends. Einkorn. I'm sure there's many, many others. But back in the olden days, when I was on a place called Salt Spring Island, very special place. I don't know what's happening there. But back in the day, the whole island was organic. You had to sign like shtaris to say that you wouldn't bring anything foreign onto the island. And that the bakery was only einkorn wheat. It was like special heirloom grown wheat strains. I don't know if it's tutzach there now. I'm not sure what's happening, but it's nice to preserve. Yaakov's already like looking up the einkorn heirloom strains of wheat. So that type of wheat, that's like the staff. That's good stuff. You want that type, the plump kernel, the good stuff. So, nowadays, so much of the wheat has become hybridized, and that's why people have such gluten allergies. Because it's imbalanced, the sugars with the minerals inside the wheat. But pure wheat, pure lechem, the good stuff, that lechem, why does the same word of bread is the same word of battle? So the Zohar says, because when you eat, it's like a battle. When you eat, it's a battle. What's it a battle of? Your higher self and your lower self.
It's physicality. Right?
That's right. You're literally just like engaging in physicality. Are you going to go like an animal to the trough? That's why, by the way, the tzaddikim say it's a good thing not to eat so much like this, but a little bit to like bring the food to you. It doesn't have to be that you literally, some tzaddikim, they literally eat. They won't go down, because animals go down to the food. They bring the food to them. They're showing who's in control here. By the way, try it. Try it for a little bit. But somewhere in the middle, doesn't have to be, if you could pull it off, like, with the soup, it's hard, because it's all,
You need napkins.
You need some, yeah, exactly. So, it's a war. Eating is a battle between your higher self and your lower self. You're just going to lose yourself in the physicality. So it's exactly hamoitzi lechem, but that battle is the same machloikas we're talking about l'shem shamayim, is that you're battling in Torah to find the truth. That's the das, that's the high level das, which is the machloikas, which is Shammai and Hillel, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. And that was the machloikas l'shem shamayim that we got when we left Mitzrayim. This is what we want. This is the das that we want. That's lechem min hashamayim. V'zeh b'chinas lechem min hashamayim. Shenemar ha'bamon. Loshen milchama. Kamoy shekosav lechamis loichamai. B'chinas machloikas. Like King David says, that the word lechem is connected to battle. Hainu shaman shua das hu b'chinas machloikas l'shem shamayim knir la'el. You'll notice that Rebbe Nachman will oftentimes say knir la'el. As we mentioned above, which means he's like tapping into things that you should already be aware of, and he's pulling it back to the forefront of your consciousness. Val Kain, therefore dasan va'aviram shechalku al Moshe, that they were making problems. You'll notice through the Chumash they make problems with Moshe Rabbeinu. Shuadas pagmu gam kain b'haman. They also made a problem with the man. And they were leaving over the man. And they had an unhealthy relationship with das. And therefore in yourself, you don't want to have a das and vavirim that's making problems with das. You want to be aligning with Moshe Rabbeinu. B'chinas Moshe knir la'el. Okay, and this is what I wanted to get to today. V'zeh shekosav b'zoyar HaKadosh. And this is what it says in the Zohar, that you know what the matzah is also called? The matzah is called lachma da asfasa, the bread of healing. This is what I wanted to talk about, healing. Why was the matzah the healing? If matzah is the das, and the matzah heals us, why is that? Why is the matzah the bread of healing? Because we just said, what's the highest level of das? And by the way, some people find the opposite, but it's not true. If you eat really good matzah properly and drink water, it's very pure. You feel it's very pure in the body. People just have to change their whole way of looking at matzah. It's very, very special. Matzah is very, very purifying. Very, very purifying. For sure, spiritually, that's for sure. Because what's the idea we're talking about? A machloikas l'shem shamayim. Machloikas l'shem shamayim means there's all these different voices and opinions, and they all have a place. They're all heard. What is healing all about? Healing is when all the parts of me are working together. Healing is when I don't eliminate something, or I try to, let's stop that. Is that I can actually harmonize all the parts of me to work together. When there's not healing, it means something is off, or something is not working properly, or something's not listening to another part of the body. The flow is not going the way that it should. Healing means everything is working together in a symbiotic relationship. So that's a machloikas l'shem shamayim. We all have different jobs, but they're all working together. They're all different. I mean, the blood vessels are different than the bronchioli, which is different than the spleen, which is different than your liver. There's all different parts, but they all have a voice, and they're all working together. They're not competing with each other. Yeah, Yosef.
So when you said that tzaddikim have like all the midos of like the spheros, like that's pretty much like the das, of like that's like they're all like healed, like they all like.
Yeah, the das is that they're all working together also. They might have stronger ones, but they're all working together because we all have different personalities, but they're all working together. The mamish working together. So that's why matzah is called asvasa, the bread of healing. Ki matzah shehi bechinas machloikas l'shem shamayim, which is that everyone has a voice, and it's different voice, and we welcome the diversity of voices. We welcome it. So don't get fooled by the black and the white, the penguin outfit. That's all, what do we wear on the inside is white. White has all the colors. It's all in here. It's mamish, a deep welcoming of diversity. To the contrary, you come to yeshiva, it literally we want to hear what you have to say. Say anything. Be willing to defend it. Be willing to defend it, because we're trying to find the truth together, but say anything. That's machloikas l'shem shamayim. That's the das, and that heals you. That heals a person when their voice starts coming out. Bechinas das, bechinas shalom k'nirel hu refuah, ki shalom hu refuah. Because when there's peace, there's healing. When there's peace with all the parts of me, then there's healing. Kamay shekosov shalom shalom l'rachayk v'l'karayv. Peace, there's going to be peace for those that are far, peace for those that are close. Amar Hashem, says Hashem, urafasiv, and there's going to be a healing that's going to come from that. Those that are far, those that are close, also is Rebbe Nachman's taking us back to the earlier part of the Torah, those that are far from Hashem, deep in the Hastar Shebetoich Hastara, and those that only have one Hastara. Hashem is going to bring everyone to a state of peace, to a state of refuah. Ki ikra chaylas chas v'shalom, the main reason for sickness, hu machmas heder hashalom, is because there's lack of peace. There's lack of peace of all the parts working together. Hainu machloikas hayasaydis. What's the problem? Why does sickness happen? Because essentially different body parts start rebelling against each other. God forbid. If things are not working properly, there are different approaches of how to take care of that. But definitely spiritually, the first step is das. The first step is das, and that starts to percolate down into the physicality. So says Rebbe Nachman that let's say one of the elements inside of a person starts getting out of control. For example, let's say a person has too much heat in his body, which is usually either, God forbid, heart problems or liver problems. So they get very heated up. Maybe their face is very, very red. Maybe the body can't, regulate itself. So that's an imbalance. Something's fighting. The heat is too high. We need to cool it down, because it's fighting the other parts of the body, chas v'shalom. So this is all about coming into peace, and when a person finds balance and peace, their body starts working properly. This is all das. Yeah, John.
I'm just a little confused how matzah brings the shalom that you're talking about.
Because matzah, we said, means to have machloikas, to fight. But it means not simple fighting, it means machloikas l'shem shamayim. It's when there's different opinions, but they're all working together to find peace. So matzah is like the highest peace. It's the highest das. It's that it allows space for Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel to be fighting with each other, but to do so for peace. That brings shalom, because a much higher level of peace than just like, I don't say anything that might go against your opinion. We all just say that we're just in peace, like Pleasantville. Like everyone does the same thing. Top of the morning, Tom. Top of the morning, Jane. Have a nice day. You too. We just kind of just do the same thing. Nobody has kind of anything different. Same white picket fence, same thing. I grew up like, Leave It to Beaver, where that was like it was just, everything is like too perfect. That's not peace. We're into real diversity, real opinions, and diversity and voices, and speaking things out with a loud voice. But being willing to say that if my chavrus's opinion makes more sense, so then I'll accept that. So that's like this ecosystem of constant communication and voice, everyone respecting each other's voices, and that creates a very high level of peace. So that's what we're saying. In the body, when that's happening, when all the pieces are working together, it's a tremendous shalom. As opposed to one saying like, this is it. So we're talking about a very high level of peace. That's the healing. That's the matzah. The matzah is the healing. So now he's finishing up the little shtickle here. And this is what it means that the matzah is called the bread of the poor man. The simple meaning is because we eat broken matzah on Pesach night because we were poor in Mitzrayim, and poor people just buy a few, what can I get? You're lucky if you get a whole one. You get little scraps, it costs less. Here we're saying that lechem, that the matzah takes you out of the oni. You're no longer poor. You're no longer poor of das. When you eat the matzah, it heals the oni. It heals.
But what's oini?
Means like a poor person. And the Gemara says there's no such thing as a poor person except somebody who's poor in das. He's the poorest. He can be a very rich man, but if he's an ani bedas, if he's a poor man with his das, he's mamish a pauper. He's nothing. What do you mean? Don't you see my supercars? Nothing. And a poor man. Whereas a person who has very simple things, but he has das, he's a very rich man. A very rich man. Das is really, because that das will take you into eternity, so it's like, talk about ROI. These supercars, you don't take them into the grave with you. But your das, you do. So that will carry you big riches for eternity. So the lechem oini is that the matzah heals the oini. It heals, it fixes your das. It builds up your das. Ki ein oini ela min hadas. Like the Gemara says in Nedarim. You should look up that Gemara. There's no such thing as a poor man except when it comes to his das. V'zeh b'chinus choyle. And that's a sick person. Kamay shekosa madu ata kacha dal ben hamelech. Why are you so poor? Umatzahu asvasa, and the matzah heals the poor. V'zeh lechem oini, shu refuah leha oini. Rav Nachman's explaining it that lechem oini means it's healing the oini. It's a refuah for the oini. So what do we see today in summary, b'siyat d'shmaya? That Klal Yisrael, we said, should have been eating the matzah for how many years? 40. But it was 40 minus 30 days. The man was the matzah. The matzah was the man. It's all one thing. And we said as we eat the man, we're downloading das. And we got that exactly when we left Mitzrayim. And that's why everything about the das is Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the peace inside of us that's pulling us out of our exile. That's happening all the time. And Moshe Rabbeinu, we said, is a very high level of das, which is machloikis l'shem shamayim. And that's why Moshe is machloikis shamay hillel. Masha enkin koyrach va'adasa is not l'shem shamayim. And Moshe is not even involved, his name's not even involved in the machloikis. And the whole purpose of once we have das is that we have healing and shalom. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to heal. We're going to help heal the whole world. The world needs so much healing right now. It needs so much das, which means that people could really communicate together and really hear each other out. Das. Das is the biggest healing thing. And that's why we said when Mashiach comes, there's going to be das everywhere. And when there's das, there's going to be shalom. Even the lion and the lamb are going to dwell together. I was talking to my kids about this on Shabbos. I was like, when Mashiach comes, the lion and the lamb are going to lie together. And my 4-year-old's like, yeah, they hug each other. Yeah, when there's das, there's such shalom. There's so much shalom. You could speak things out. Even a carnivorous animal is going to be able to say, I don't need to eat you. There's other ways I could figure this out. We should be Zoicha Matzah. Get that einkorn matzah going. We should be Zoicha, my dear friends, to the great days of Sechazena Eineinu B'Shuvacha L'Tzion B'Rachamim. We should be Zoicha Mamash to the Binyan Beis Hamikdash, the Binyan Tifartoi of the great splendorous place of Das. The Beis Hamikdash is the place of Das, where Shemayim and Aretz kiss and embrace. And Mashiach should come, Yemalia Arts, Deya Es Hashem Kamayim Liyam Nechasim B'mhira V'yaminu. Amen. Amen. Oh, Yen Shum Yeyu, Yen Shum Yeveyu, Yen Shum Yeyu, Baba V'lam Cha, Rabbeinu Shua, V'kal Gada, Yen Shum Yeyu, Yen Shum Yeveyu, Yen Shum Yeyu, Baba V'lam Cha, Mitzvah Gedolah.